Okay, not too far out of the settlement of Yalata, which is the Aboriginal settlement, and it's like I say, it's a little bit disappointing that it's an unmanned fuel stop, but you know, it is what it is these days. Also, the old air highway is just running off to our right hand side. Started approximately a kilometre or so ago. You can traverse the old air highway if you refer back to our Great Southern Land adventure from this time last year. You'll see that Paul and myself took a drive along the old air highway. Now the thing is, if you're going to drive the old air highway in this part of the continent, down through Yalata, you do need a permit because it does actually pass through Aboriginal land. But once you get to Nullarbor Roadhouse, you can go on the old air highway all the way through up to Border Village. It joins back onto this highway, and you don't need any permits at all there. Now, it can be slow going, but realistically the road is in reasonably good condition. There's just a couple of spots that does get quite rocky and bumpy. Other than that, you can sort of sit comfortably on 60 or 70 kilometres an hour, and it is quite an interesting drive. It's no dramas. You can drive on it wet, dry. The conditions really don't matter. And my original plan is when I get a little bit further on down here, was to take you off this highway up into Canalda Station. Now Canalda Station is also known as the car graveyard. So back in the day, that's where people used to stop and get fuel at Canalda. There's Ivy Tanks, Canalda, and a couple of other towns that I'm not too sure of the names off the top of my head, which is quite an interesting drive. So if you're looking for something to break your trip up and give yourself a little bit of an off-road experience, I would definitely suggest the old air highway from Canalda Station up through to Border Village. But anyway, as you can see, it's a little bit overcast still. I have been driving through a considerable amount of rain this morning, which is really unusual given the fact that it's summer, which is what I said earlier on in the piece. You really do need to be prepared more than anything else. Temperature is 17 degrees. It's wet. It's not too windy, which is a good thing. But you know, like you would think in the middle of summer you would be preparing for quite hot weather. Anyway, there is Yalata, which is an unmanned site now. It's all pay by card, pay by fuel card. Fuel is cheap, $1.95 a litre for diesel. And like I say, this is probably the last of the cheap fuel. Once we get a little bit further on up here, about another 100 kilometres in, I think we come into Nullarbor, and you'll guarantee, or I will guarantee you, that the price of fuel is going to be $2.60, $2.70 a litre. So you know, you're looking at around about 70 to 80 cents a litre difference in the fuel price. So just plan your trip around that. It's always been the same, never been any different whatsoever. It is the most expensive place for fuel coming across here. But having said that, the facilities there are second to none. They do a fantastic feed. They have all of your accommodation requirements, and you can pick up bits and pieces. Now, I'm not thinking it's anything like a Woolworths or a Coles, but you can certainly pick up some meat and drinks and bits and pieces like that if you have been caught short. Anyway, I'm going to shut up yabbering. I'll let you have a little bit of a run through here so you can see the road. It's quite pretty with the trees and that down the side, and I'll pick you up a little bit further on down.
That he and you said I do. I wasn't there watching you, but a chill came over me when that preacher man spoke that prayer. I swear I felt it in the air, and my soul started sinking deep. Since you
Oh, just one last tip before I sign off on this little segment. When you are going to make the journey across, or if you are going to make the journey across, but highly recommended, make sure you have your music sorted out. You can pick up ABC radio the whole way across. yeah, not necessarily everyone's cup of tea. So yeah, make sure you've got some music and everything else like that sorted for just to break up the trip. Particularly if you're travelling by yourself, it's always nice to have something happening in the background that you can sing along to. I mean, God, my voice sounds pretty good in my head, but in realistic terms, not so much. Anyway, I'll sign off from there, and I'll probably pick you up. The next point I would show you will be the turn off to the head of the bight, and then Nullarbor Roadhouse. Cheers, guys. Okay, guys, I'm 20 kilometres east of Nullarbor Roadhouse. And as I'd mentioned before, coming across the air highway, many people mention it as the Nullarbor Plain. Well, I'm actually at the eastern end of the Nullarbor Plain now, as you can see by the sign out in front of yourself. I'm sure everybody knows Nullarbor means no trees, which isn't exactly true because there are a couple, but realistically it's a big flat open plain. One thing about the Nullarbor, it actually only runs for, I think it's 197 kilometres. Everyone refers to it as the Nullarbor Plain all the way across, but it's not. It's kind of like a big piece of pizza. Down this southern end, because we're not too far away from the coast, is the thin edge of the wedge, and as you get further north, it progressively gets wider and wider. So basically that's the Nullarbor Plain out there that I'm looking at now, or that you're looking at, and we'll be coming past the Nullarbor Roadhouse, like I say, in around about 20 kilometres time. So anyway, I'll take you along on the journey, and we'll have a little bit of a look at Nullarbor Roadhouse when we get there. Okay, still just 16 kilometres east of Nullarbor Roadhouse, and here is the turn off to head of the bight. It's about, well, hang on, there's a sign here, it'll tell me exactly how far it is. It is, doesn't tell me, I think from memory it's around about 30 kilometres down there. If you've never been to the head of the bight, it's really worthwhile. It is part of the marine park, so there is an entry fee that's payable. I think your National Parks Pass covers it if you do have a National Parks Pass. Yeah, it's very worthwhile, particularly if you're in whale migration season. When you're coming across, particularly around the whale migration season, they usually have signs up at both Nullarbor Roadhouse and there at the turn-off to let you know if there have been whales sighted there. I've been down a couple of times when there has been no signage there at all, and both times I have managed to see the southern right whales, and they're not very far off the coast. There's some viewing platforms and that down there. It's quite spectacular even if you don't see whales, but yeah, the whales would have been no more than 50 to 100 metres off the coastline from where you were, so you get a fantastic view of it. Very, very, very interesting to get yourself down there. Like I say, it's one road in, one road out, so you know, you're adding an hour or so onto any trip, but I don't think if you're doing this trip here, you can't really be in any great hurry. So yeah, well worthwhile going down and having a little bit of a look, guys. Okay guys, here we are at Nullarbor Roadhouse. As you can see, this is one of the bigger roadhouses there are there. That building that you can see right there is not the original service station, but it's a replica of it. Obviously they've put in a whole new station here over the years. Quite a big place, and like I say, has absolutely everything. You've got the accommodation, fuel, food, whatever you want. It does have a bar, so absolutely everything you need. Like I say, fuel prices a little bit on the dear side, $2.75. So you know, we're looking at 80 cents a litre dearer than where I filled up this morning. So anyway, one of those things. Like I said, it's got everything you need. It's a really nice place. The food here is excellent. The accommodation is really, really good. Fuel price, not so much. Anyway guys, I'm actually going to stop here and get out. It's still quite cool. It's 16 degrees and the breeze has just started to pick up, so I'll be punching into the wind for the next part of the journey, which I'll take you along as we go. Cheers guys. Well, back again. We are actually on the Nullarbor Plains now, just east of the Nullarbor Roadhouse. It's hard to describe. It's a lot of nothing, but there's a level of beauty in that nothing. Hopefully people that like to drive a lot will understand that. You will be able to see that although the Nullarbor says no trees, there are actually a few. Not many, mind you. Vast expanses of not very much at all. But like I say, it's a level of beauty driving through not very much. And it's, oh yeah, I don't know, I just like it. I really, really do. I love this trip. So anyway, I'm going to pan you around and show you the northern side of the Nullarbor Plain. Hopefully you can catch that and it's not going to make you too dizzy as we travel along. Now, without boring anyone to death, or hopefully I haven't bored you all to death at this point in time, I have a tendency to sit on about 105, 106 kilometres an hour, and I find that is a very comfortable speed, but B, it puts you right in the middle of you know, the road trains and the caravans and the like. You tend not to catch up to them too quickly. If you're doing 110, 115 or thereabouts, you tend to catch up with a lot of particularly caravans. The old grey nomad type thing. Trouble is, they're not all grey nomads. A lot of them are much younger. I've been doing this trip on and off now for many years, and the quantity of traffic out here has grown considerably. I remember the early days back in the early to mid 70s coming across, you would hardly ever see another car. Typically a lot of this wasn't tar back then, and particularly in the early 70s prior to 1973 I think it was, you were travelling across the old Air Highway, which was dirt for many kilometres. But since they've opened this new road and they've tarred it all the way through to, well, they've tarred it all the way through now, but where it was dirt road, they tarred it all the way through and put this new one in a little bit south of the old Air Highway all the way through to Border Village, which is where you meet up with the old Air Highway. It just seems the traffic has just grown and grown and grown. So gone are the days when you would drive along for literally hours on end and not see another vehicle. Now if you travel for any more than a couple of minutes and don't see another vehicle, there's there seems to be something wrong. So it's just one of those things, I guess. More and more people do it, and it's not hard to explain why. A lot of people use this journey to get from point A to point B. I actually think this journey is part of the holiday and part of the adventure in itself. So you know, a lot of people go, oh, it's long, it's boring, there's nothing to do, there's nothing to see, and yes, there is a lot of element of truth in that. There are lots of long distances between points of interest, but there are points of interest, particularly out in this part. There's a lot of caves, underground caves, not caves in the side of the hills, and as you get further down towards Cockle-Biddy, there's a lot of caves that are actually worthwhile seeing. I'll fill you in on those a little bit more when we get down towards that area. And in approximately 50 kilometres from here is when we start to come into some really, approximately 150 kilometres I should say, we start to come into a lot of really pretty type areas to drive through. When we get down and you're very close to the ocean, you can see the ocean, and you're just driving along the edge of the Bunter Cliffs, which is also a point of interest that I'll be stopping and showing you, because that is well worth a look. Speaking of the Bunter Cliffs, there are 4 viewing areas of the Bunter Cliffs. There are 2 that are very, very good, and the other 2 probably not quite as good, but still worthwhile to go and have a look at. They're not very far off the road. I think the furthest you need to travel off the highway to get down to the viewing points is around about 600 metres. So we'll be stopping at those points of interest, and I'll show you around when we get there. Okay, well, I did promise to show you the turn off to Canalda. Unfortunately, when I went to turn the camera on, the battery died, so I've come past that. But it is, like I said before, exactly 88 kilometres east of Border Village, and well, clearly 2 kilometres west of the 90k to Border Village sign. We'll try that again. I promised you guys that I would show you the turn off to Canalda Station. Unfortunately, when I went to hit the GoPro, the battery was dead. So yeah, you can see exactly where I said it was. It's 88 kilometres east of Border Village. There's no great sign there, but it is called Canalda Road. It is on Google Maps. It's on all of your GPSs as Canalda Road, and it's 14 kilometres of good gravel road up into the homestead there, which is well worth a look. Again, I'll refer back to our Great Southern Land adventure last year. I think it's episode 2 where we, Paul and myself, spent the night at Canalda Station, and we've got some fairly good footage of that for you. So I've made my way down to the viewing area number 1 for the Bunda Cliffs. So I'm going to take a little bit of a walk down now. Again, that's well, the Bunda Cliffs lookouts are all well signposted. I've got to admit, I haven't been to this one in a long time. Anyway, it's 600 metres, again, good gravel road up here to where you park, and then it's just a short walk down to the viewing area. So I'm not going to drag you along with me as I'm walking down there. I'll wait till I get down to the viewing area and I'll show you around. Now, it is a little bit breezy. It's not overly bad, but hopefully the wind noise won't distract from the views. Anyway, guys, I'll see you down at the viewing area. Okay guys, down at the viewing area here, there is some signs, also some graffiti, but this is one of my favourite places in the world. It's absolutely spectacular. That's the look going west. Absolutely nothing between here and Antarctica, basically. As you can see, it's quite overcast, and it's a little windy. It's not too bad. I hope it's not sort of blowing its guts out on the microphone here. And as you can see, that's heading east. So spectacular. Even in overcast conditions, it's absolutely gorgeous part of the world. That's the pathway back to the parking area, which is probably, I don't know, 150 metres. So there's my pet hate that all YouTubers do. That's a 360-degree view. Hope it didn't make you dizzy. So one thing that I'm going to do now, I'm not going to spend too much time here looking around, because I've made the executive decision that this evening I'll be staying at Newman's Rocks. It's about 700 kilometres from here, so I've got to push on, and we'll take you through to there. I'll catch you up on the road. Okay guys, just a little bit of a correction. I did say that was viewing area number 1. It was actually viewing area number 2. I do apologise for that. And as you can see, driving along here, the edge of the Bunda Cliffs are just over there to the left hand side. Now there is an opportunity for free camping along the top of the Bunda Cliffs here if anyone is interested. There's a couple of little turn-offs here with camping area type signs marked on them. You can't miss it, but do be prepared. It's incredibly windy here a majority of the time. So if you're planning on free camping up on the top of the Bunda Cliffs, it's spectacular, very picturesque, but incredibly windy. So just bear that in mind. if when you're making the crossing and you're interested in camping up here and it's not too windy, I would urge you to take the opportunity to camp up along here, because like I say, a more spectacular outlook you won't find anywhere else, particularly in the southern area of outback Western Australia / South Australia. We're still on the South Australian side of the border. Anyway, as we motor along, our next port of call will be the quarantine station at Border Village, which is where I do need to stop so they can look through the car. Again, no fruit, veg, honey, potatoes, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm really good. I've got absolutely nothing with me other than some meat and drinks. So I'll get through no problems whatsoever. And anyway, I'll flick you back on as we're coming up to Border Village. See you soon. Okay guys, just coming up to Border Village now. So we're not too far away, 1 kilometre from the quarantine station. So I'll show you this one coming up, and then I'm going to have to put the camera down as I roll through Border Village and clearly stop. Undoubtedly they'll want to check, they usually do, although like I've said before, sometimes it's a real quick check and other times it's quite thorough. So anyway, here we are at the border of South Australia and Western Australia, just rolling in nice and easy, and I'll put the camera down now and I'll pick you up on the other side. Cheers guys. Well, okay guys, been through the checkpoint. Like I say, sometimes it's quite a substantial check and other times it's a really easy one. On this occasion, the young girl there asked a couple of questions. I answered that I didn't have anything, and that was about the size of things. She looked in the fridge and that was it. She never looked in the back or anywhere else at all. So I guess the fact is it's reasonably busy there at the moment. There were 3 or 4 vehicles behind me, so they weren't going to hold anyone up at all. So yeah, we just come through. Now, we've only just crossed over into Western Australia, and the first thing that's really noticeable is the condition of the road. A majority of our viewers come from Western Australia, and we tend to complain a lot about our roads. Well, I'm here to tell you, as soon as you cross over onto this Western Australian side, the road conditions improve considerably. Now, that's not saying that the road is not in good condition on the South Australian side. It's just a little bit lumpy, a little bit narrower, and yeah, it's just one of those things. The road over here is considerably better than it is on the South Australian side of the border. Anyway, as we're going to be chuffing along here, next port of call, or it's not even a port of call, I'm going to go straight by it, is Eucla, and then after Eucla it's up and over Medora Pass. So I'll more than likely stop at Medora Pass at the lookout there, give you guys a little bit of a look around, and then I'll continue on. I've still got just a bit under 600 kilometres to go today. I'm taking advantage of the time difference between South Australia and Western Australia. You go through some funky time changes out here. South Australia is 2.5 hours in front of us, but then you've got this wonderful central time that you move your clocks backwards 45 minutes and all of the bits and pieces. But anyway, realistically speaking, I've been on the road for almost 5 hours now, and realistically in Perth time it's 10:30 in the morning. So I'll cruise this 600 kilometres in. I will call into where I'm camping tonight, I would say roughly 4 o'clock West Australian time, which will give me plenty of time to set up while it's daylight and have dinner and stuff like that before an early night in the swag, and then up early tomorrow morning, and I will make the rest of the way home. So tomorrow on the trip home from Newman Rocks, I think is roughly 750 kilometres, so that's not such a massive day in the scheme of things. And I'm not sure, the weather doesn't look like it's going to be hot by any stretch, so it's quite pleasant driving along. As a matter of fact, it's still only just 22 degrees outside, so yeah, driving along, window down to a degree, and not even worrying about the air conditioning. And just one thing for all of you guys to take into consideration as well. I always carry chapstick with me, and particularly when it's really hot, you're driving along with the air conditioning on, it tends to dry your lips out. But more so, I've been driving with my window down, and that's dried my lips out. So without chapstick, it could become a little bit uncomfortable. So just something for you to think about to throw in your glove box or in the centre console of your car before any of those trips. Anyway, chuffing along now, 70-something kilometres through to Eucla, so I'll flick you back on at Eucla, and you can have a bit of a look as I drive through there. Okay, Eucla, $2.58, so that's not so bad considering where we are. Anyway, I'll catch up with you later down the road. Cheers, guys.
Alright guys, Gary has made his way across the Western Australian border, where we shall leave him there for this week, and we shall rejoin him next week for the journey home back to Norseman. Just like to take this opportunity to remind you guys, if you want to help support the channel, please jump on our website at www.perth4before-adventures.com.au, grab yourself a t-shirt, black, grey, maybe even get one of each. Patches, we now have patches available, so grab yourself one of those. And of course, we need a new sticker. We still have all the other merch available in the web shop as well, so jump on board there, grab yourself a pack, make it worth your while, and you will be going a long way to helping me produce more content for you. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, guys, for your support. I hope you have enjoyed this episode, and more to the point, I hope you are enjoying this series. Something a little different from us, other than just going out camping or four-wheel driving. Trying to mix things up a little bit this year on the channel, so I hope you are enjoying this series. And a special thank you to Gary for filming it all for me and giving me so much work to put it all together. Good on you guys. All right, don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we'll see you in the next episode. Cheers guys.